Hey everybody, welcome back to our Let's Code tutorial. In the last part, we went through our various types of loops. And in this part, we're going to cover a topic equally important, functions. Now, we've already talked about main. Now, this is the main function of the program, so the pointer will go through everything in main and do exactly what it says. But there is a way to kind of model your code in kind of like a section format. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to get rid of, let's get rid of all this. And we're going to get rid of this as well. And these. Yeah, fresh slate. Now, what you're going to want to do with functions is you're going to have to create a prototype. Prototype, where essentially you declare what the function is going to look like. I believe that's what it's called. And you're also going to need the actual function itself. Now you can write the functions up here or down here. I prefer to have all my functions underneath main, so I never have to look far to see what the main program is. So in this one, we're going to be using functions in order to calculate some stuff. All right, so in this program, we're going to have a user input something in kilograms, and we're going to have our program convert it and give us back tons, grams, ounces, pounds. Okay, so we're going to kilograms to pounds, ounces, grams, and tons. I'm going to have to look up the conversion rates for those, but we can get our main program down pat right now. So first things first, we're going to have to create a return type, kind of like an int. So in this case, we want decimals, just in case that it's not exactly a whole number to a whole number. So we're going to return a float. Okay. And we're going to call this convert. And what we're going to do is yeah, it's a little wonky. Yeah, see, we're going to pass in two floats. If I could spell. We're going to pass in a float. Oh yeah, you know what, we're just going to, oh yeah, no. We're going to pass in two floats. One for our pounds and one for our conversion rate, or kilograms. We're going to call our kilograms kg. That's going to be what we're going to call it. And our float, we are going to call that conversion. Okay, so those are the two variables we're going to pass in. We're going to use a conversion function to convert it and pass back the answer. So first things first, we're going to have to create a few variables. Float, kilograms. Oops, I forgot my semicolon. Float, pounds. I'm going to look up all the conversion rates in a second. I just need to get this down right now. Float, G for grams, and float tons. Okay, so that's everything so far. Again, I'm going to be filling in the blanks. Oh wait, I forgot. What did I forget? I forgot ounces. Float ounces. Okay, so now we've got all our variables. There's several ways to do this. Because our function here is returning a value, we need to put this value into something. So for example, we have to have like some variable, like some var, will be equal to convert kilograms and grams. That's what a statement would look like. We need to have something in our main program that will pick up whatever convert gives us. If we don't do that, there's going to be an error. Or, yeah, see? Now, I guess there's no error, but it doesn't do anything. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to either have a variable waiting for it, like I was showing you before. You're going to want to have it in a cout statement. And you don't have to put quotation marks because this is treated like any other variable, because whatever the return value, in this case a float, will come back and take the place of whatever this is in the statement. Okay? So, in this case, I'm going to have a couple variables. Flat, float, F1 and F2. You can do this. You can have multiple things declared in the same line. The reason I'm not doing this is because I'm also going to be assigning values to them, and it just looks prettier like this. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go cout. Please enter a value in kilograms. And we're going to in kilograms. And now it's time for our statements. I'm going to be using these values in order to get the conversion rates of these two. Oops. Nope. There we go. I'm going to get the conversion rates of these two and put them in F1 and F2. As for these two, I'm going to insert them right into cout statements. So let's just get rid of this. Oh, wait. So we're going to go F1. F1 is equal to kilograms and pounds. So whatever it is in pounds is what's going to be thrown to F1. Just going to copy this because it's mostly the same. Control-V. Make sure you change this whenever you're using copy and paste. I can't tell you how many times I've had the error where I've just been copying and pasting similar lines and I forget to change one aspect and it just screws up the entire program. It happens, so be very careful when you do it. Okay, so now we're storing stuff in F1 and F2. So now we're going to go cout kg kilograms is, and we're going to end the line there, cout F1 pounds end line. Oops. I'm just going to copy and paste this because I'm going to be using that a lot. Okay. F2 and grams. See, yep, and now we don't have values for that, so we can just go convert kilograms and tons. Oops. Tons. And see out convert kilograms to ounce. Oops, that's ox. Ounce. And ounce. Okay, so one more review before we finish up our program. We're going to store a floating point value, which is returned from convert, into F1 and F2, which we can use in the cout statements. We can also just use the function itself in the cout statements because it returns a value and therefore is treated kind of similar as a variable itself. It's just a number that's being returned. So as long as you have something waiting in main to use this, or at least store it, you'll be okay. So now what we're going to have to do is we're going to actually have to write this function. So down here we're going to, let's copy this because I'm lazy. Control-V. And in any value returning function like float, you'll always have to have this return statement. Kind of looks familiar, doesn't it? That's because main is actually a value returning function of type int, which is why we return 0. We can return any number we want. It'll always end the program. We just do return 0 because it's kind of a universal thing to do. And also if you're checking for errors in other places, like, oh, if this happens, then end the program, but return a different number. It helps you with error checking, so that's it for now. So yeah, we're going to return a value. What we can actually do is return straight up kg times convert. Conversion. So yeah, we can straight up do this. It'll multiply these two together and return whatever this was. Another thing we could do is we could have a local variable. We can have the variable equal the statement, and then we can return the variable. This is another way of doing it. Ultimately, it's your choice because this is your program. You can do it in the 3 steps, and sometimes you'll be required to be doing this kind of stuff because there will be multiple calculations. Now that you've done this, you're going to have to do another step and another step. So I'm just going to cover this. For this particular program, we only need this one line in our function, which is very handy. So we're going to go ahead and build it and then debug. And start without debugging. Okay. I made a slight boo-boo. Can you spot it? I'll give you a few seconds. 44? Yeah. We have a bit of a boo-boo here. Can you spot it? If your answer was, I didn't assign any values to these, you were correct. I forgot to do that. And I'm going to go look up the conversion rates and be right back to show you what they are. So just hang on, I'll be right back. Hey, welcome back. Here are the values that I found on the internet. Ultimately, it all depends on where you're going to go. I just picked the first unit converter that I found and plugged those values in. So now that we actually have values, we're going to actually give this a shot, and it'll work this time. So we're going to 44. 44 kilograms is the same as 97.0033 pounds, 44,000 grams, 0.044 tons, and 1,552.06 ounces. So our program worked perfectly. If you want to style it a bit, you could probably put some spaces in here. Like I said, you might get a different value depending on which value you use for the conversion rate. But, I mean, as long as you tell your teacher or whoever's going to use it that these are the conversion rates you are using, and like you don't hide them somewhere in your program, then you'll be fine. Okay, another thing we're going to go over is the void function. Now, unlike a value return function, a void function does not return anything. So we're going to call this get kilograms. So instead of actually having this this statement right here, we're going to kind of push that into a function and just call the function instead right here. So we're going to have to pass in a float, and I'm going to put the ampersand sign right there. And I can declare the value. It's going to be kg. And we're going to put this right here. So the difference between these two things, between this statement and this statement, is essentially one is a pass by value and the other is a pass by reference. So pass by value and pass by reference. The difference between these two is a pass by value is, well, that's exactly what you're doing. You're just passing a value. So picture you have a pen and someone asks to borrow it so they can do something with it. Instead of giving them the pen you are holding, you give them a pen that looks exactly like it in every single way possible. You give it kind of like a duplicate. And you give this duplicate to your friend, who then dips it in paint. Now, whatever your friend does to screw up your pen, you still hold the original pen, and therefore the original value. The same works here. Here is a pass by value, so we're passing whatever value is in kg to the function down here. So if we were to do something like kg is equal to this number, back in the main function, it's still going to register kg as being whatever the user input. Okay? So main function will hold the original value. Meanwhile, in these functions, the local version of the value that was put in can be changed at will. This is a very good thing to do, especially for security, because you might mess up your program if you don't pay attention to these. Pass by reference, on the other hand, same situation, your friend asks you for a pen, but this time you give him your pen, your original pen. So now you don't have a pen, your friend takes your pen and dunks it in paint again. I don't know why you keep giving your friend your pen, because he keeps dunking it in paint. He does whatever he does with it and hands you back this paint-covered pen. Well, now your original pen has been changed forever. And instead of this original pen that you had, you now have a pen drenched in paint. The same happens with this. This ampersand sign signifies that it's a pass by reference. So we're passing the variable itself, essentially. The technical term is we're passing the address in memory at which this value is being stored. So we are passing the original kilograms that we declared up here. So that means in this new function, if we had the same statements in this other function that we're going to be making, if we did that, then this is going to be the new value that gets stored into kg, both in here, in your function, and in your main, and will be changed forever past that point. Be careful about this, because you can screw stuff up like that if you're not careful. Fortunately, we are not going to be screwing anything up. So we are going to create ourselves another function, our get kilogram. Okay. And a good way of kind of keeping these things straight in your mind is you pass a value and the and sign, and you change it. If there's no and sign, you don't change it. If there is an and sign, you pass it and change. Otherwise, you're just passing. So just pass and change. It's a good mnemonic to kind of keep in your head. The and sign means there's another thing, and you're changing. So we are going to kind of do this. Control copy, Control V. So yeah, unlike our counterpart of the value returning function, we don't actually need anything to be waiting for a value here. So we can just go and write the function itself right there. Yeah, we don't do that. Like down here, we just put the variable name as our parameter, and that's all we do. So now our pointer is going to come down, it's going to get to this part, it's going to hop down here, it's going to run this, and as soon as it ends this last thing, it's just going to end. It's not going to return anything. Now that's why we have to use this pass by reference, because we're changing things. Okay, and then it continues, and we do our pass by value returning function. So we're going to do this again, and it'll work perfectly fine, just like it did from before. So we are going to do order 66, yeah, like from Star Wars. So there we go. It worked perfectly. Now, before I end this video, I believe it's kind of a short one, I just want to talk to you guys, kind of give you one more analogy of kind of how you separate a value returning function from a void function. Let's picture you are at a McDonald's, and you're just a bystander. You have the main head honcho, the supervisor. We're going to call him Manager Main. And our manager here has a bunch of orders that he gives his staff, which are these functions right here. Which the technical term for these functions are called sub-functions. So these are the sub-functions, and this is the main function. So our main manager here, our main man, has two sub-workers, two student employees. The first sub-worker, he tells this one, here's a broom, go sweep the floor. Now, that worker goes, sweeps the entire floor. What does someone do when they finished sweeping and have like a big pile of dust? They sweep it up, they throw it in the trash. They don't bring the dust back to the person who asked. I mean, just picture that. Here you go, I finished sweeping the floor, here's the dust. No, they throw the dust in the trash and just, you're done your task. You put the broom away, you give it back to Maine, and you continue on with your life. So that's what happens in this first instance. Our sub-worker is given a broom and dustpan. It sweeps around, it does its stuff, and when it's done all the tasks, it just ends. It does not bring anything back to Maine, it just ends. Now, our manager has another sub-worker. He's our kind of fry cook, and he gives our fry cook 10 frozen hamburgers and says, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take these 10 frozen hamburgers and I want you to give me 10 cooked burgers. Now, the sub-worker takes these 10 frozen burgers, our initial things, our values that we put in. He does some stuff, and then he returns 10 cooked burgers. Okay? I mean, the analogy is a little off because, well, the burgers have been changed, but he's returning something, unlike the person who's sweeping the floor. He gives back a value, a state, to the manager, who then takes this value and does things with it. He puts it to work. He gives it to customers. He talks about it. He does whatever he does with these 10 cooked burgers. But that's a way of kind of thinking of these things. The void function is like mopping or sweeping. The value returning function is like cooking. You get a product given back to you. And this value can be pretty much anything you want it to be, as long as it's a valid data type. So we can make it an int, we can make it a string, we can make it a char, long, float, short, double. Whatever we want, we can put in front of that, and that's what the type of data that will be returned. Now, we obviously can't put like a string, or like we can't put too many things because right now we're using it as capacity of float. But again, you can tailor it so you can give literally any value for it to be returned. And in more advanced classes in computer science, there are ways of altering these things so it kind of varies what is given back. But that's a ways away for you guys. I'm not going to burden you with that. That's functions in a nutshell. Make sure you understand them, because functions are they're pinnacle to C++. You cannot have like a ginormous main function that has like billions of lines of code. It just doesn't work. It's horrible to like debug. It's a nightmare to read. So write good code, use functions, and oh, I almost forgot, the main upside to using functions is that you can use these commands as many times as you want. we're essentially making the command, and whenever we want to, we can call that command up in main. Like this convert, for instance, I use it like 4 times. And that's a real big thing, because what if we actually had something more complicated than just multiplying 2 numbers together? What if we had a program that was reading values from a document, and we have everything that we need to read the document and all that in the function, and we have several documents we need the program to read? Well, we just pass in this stuff several times. All we have to do is call the function. We don't have to write all the code needed several different times. I mean, it's a little hard to see with just this one line code example, but trust me, you do need it, and it really helps. So if you didn't understand, watch this video again, put some comments in the comments section if you're having any trouble. I'm sure myself or anyone else watching who might understand it or know C++ can help you out. These past few videos have been very important to C++, but understand this is kind of the basics of C++. So make sure you understand these things, because everything from here on out is going to just assume that you know these things. Okay? So at that, I'm going to be leaving you. Until next time, I'll be seeing you.